David Goggins is known as one of the toughest men alive, pushing his body to do extreme physical feats most people would consider impossible. But there was one 19-hour ultramarathon race that almost broke him.
Hardest thing I did my entire life, dude, was this one race. I was not prepared at all. I knew nothing about ultra running. The first I'd ever run was 20 miles at one time. Everything falls the fuck apart. Literally, man, I'm like peeing blood down my leg. I have some crap coming out of me. I was all dizzy and lightheaded, hadn't gone to the bathroom. It's been about 12 hours. My ex-wife looked at me and she's like, man, we agreed I'm not gonna make the time. I was going way too slow. I was out of it. I was in the worst pain in my entire life. I was, to me, on the brink of death.
In 2005, David Goggins was employed as an elite Navy SEAL in the US Army. As part of his service, he'd spent time deployed in the Middle East to fight the War on Terror, where he experienced the loss of many SEALs he trained with. Most notably in Operation Red Wings, where 11 SEALs and 8 special aviation soldiers were killed in a single mission fighting the Taliban. Inspired to help the families of these fallen soldiers, Goggins decides to raise some money.
So I found the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. If you're a special operator and you die, it will give 100% tuition to your son or daughter to go to college. Great foundation. So now I gotta find something to do to raise money for it. So I started Googling all these different races. I found the Badwater 135. I knew nothing about ultra running. The first I'd ever run was 20 miles at one time. And so what came up was the Badwater 135. 135-mile run through Death Valley in the summertime.
The Badwater 135 was no joke. It was the hardest ultramarathon in the world. With only 100 participants, each is hand-selected by Chris Kosman, the race director. And to qualify, would need prior experience running 100 miles.
So I called the race director up, Chris Kosman of the Badwater, and he said, "Are you an ultra runner?" And I was like, "I don't know what that is."
And I said, well, you need to have done a 100-mile race or over 100 miles in 24 hours.
I called him up on a Wednesday, and he goes, "There's a race on Saturday in San Diego one day, where you run around a 1-mile track for 24 hours. So many miles you can get. If you get 100 in 24 hours, I will consider you in my race."
The challenge was set. In order to qualify for Badwater, Goggins would need to run at least 100 miles in 24 hours, on just 3 days' notice.
So I'm like, fuck it, man, this guy's trying to call me out. I'm gonna get this shit done. I'm a SEAL, I'm a badass. Been through Ranger school and shit, I got this.
3 days later, on the morning of November 12th, Goggins arrives at Mission Bay Park for the San Diego One Day. The track is simple, a flat 1-mile loop. Of all the 87 participants, Goggins stands out like a sore thumb. He's built like a heavyweight wrestler, full of muscle, and he's weighing in at 230 pounds. Despite his enormous frame, he starts off at a good pace and powers through 40 miles, then 50, and in 12 hours, he makes it to mile 70, ahead of schedule. But it was here at mile 70 where trouble began to arise.
I sit down at mile 70, and buddy, I hadn't sat down yet. I sit down and everything falls the fuck apart. Literally, man, I wasn't hydrating correctly. I didn't know what to do. Had very minimal water, if any at all, and I was just dying. So I sat down in this blue lawn chair as I was watching all these runners go around in this circle. I was all dizzy and lightheaded, hadn't gone to the bathroom. It's been about 12 hours. I went 70 miles in about 12 hours. And I looked at my ex-wife now, and I was like, I am fucked. And I started seeing like 3 of her. And once my body stopped, my mind just went off. And I had to go to the bathroom. And the bathroom was like 20 feet away from me, if that. And I couldn't. And so I sat there and I'm like peeing blood down my leg. I have some crap coming out of me. And I got 30 fucking miles to go. And I'm in the worst shape of my entire life.
Goggins was at his physical limit, but he wasn't ready to give up just yet.
With blood down my leg and 30 miles to go, I started reaching the cookie jars, man. I started pulling off all kind of stuff. I reached in my mind, and a lot of us, when we have bad times in life, even the hardest person in the world, we forget how badass we are during that hard time. I have a thing where I take a couple seconds to reflect on, hang on, man, you've been through this, you've been through that, you overcame this, overcame that. I don't ever close my mind to the fact that this can be done. I broke this thing down into small pieces. I said, okay, I gotta get nutrition. I gotta be able to stand up before I can get off this curb and get off this chair and be able to go 30 miles. So I went through all these small steps, and I was able to stand up. And then from standing up, I was literally walking around with my wife at the time. And what happened was, my ex-wife looked at me and she's like, man, we agreed I'm not gonna make the time. I was going way too slow. And at that time, at mile 81, something clicked that I'll never probably be able to do again, when my mind, body, spirit, soul, everything just connected. And my mind knew I wasn't fucking around anymore. It knew I wasn't gonna quit. It knew that guy was dead and buried and gone. And I was gonna die out here on this fucking 1 mile. I said to myself, who on this fucking earth would still be going right now? You are. You are. You gotta be the hardest motherfucker on the planet. Is it true? I don't give a fuck. I believed it. I believe it today. I believed it enough to where my body said, he's not gonna stop. But what I was saying to myself the whole time on that track, this is what I say to myself. Self-talk and visualization are the two keys to my success. I believed for that last 19 miles, I was indestructible. For whatever reason why, I was gonna get through this motherfucker. I didn't give a damn. It made no, there was no fucking crowds. There was no trophy at the end. I wasn't even in a race in my mind. It was nothing. It wasn't about nothing. There was no nothing. It was a bunch of people who didn't know who the fuck I was, and it was me against me. And I used all these different dark places to start bringing out light and just fucking going deeper and deeper. Ended up running the next 20 miles. I ran 101 miles, and I ran the next 20 miles, at about a 10:30 pace. And I did 101 miles in 18 hours and 56 minutes.
Goggins finishes as the 37th overall competitor out of a field of 83, giving him the miles he needed to qualify for Badwater. But his physical condition was about to get a whole lot worse.
Sat back down in that blue porta potty, now my chair that I got from Walmart, and that's when the body realized I was done. And this great feeling came over me, but also the worst pain in my life. That's when I took a humongous shit on myself, literally like a fucking log up my fucking back, pissed so much blood down. And my wife she was a nurse, and she was freaked out, and she was terrified. I need to get to the doctor. I need to get to the doctor. So I said, just take me home. And the craziest thing, I'll tell you a story because it's right now. I'm not sadistic. I'm not crazy. People may think that they may want to put a title on me after hearing me because it makes them feel better. Because they think, wow, this guy must be some special or just fucked up crazy dude. No, I'm a guy that came from nothing. Anybody's capable of doing shit like this. Anybody. So she said, I'm taking you to the doctor. I said, no, let me sit here and enjoy this pain. She said, what are you talking about? I said, you know, I need to go to the doctor. I realized that. But I never thought it was humanly possible to do what I did. I went 70 miles. And at 70 miles, I was dead. I was at 100%, what I thought was 100%. I went 31 more miles after being in the worst physical shape I've ever been in my life. And all that pain and suffering and thing was going through my fucking body as I sat in that tub and the waters hit me. And it was the most amazing feeling of accomplishment. And I want to be numb. I didn't want people to give me drugs and to numb this fucking pain. I did this. And as crazy as it sounds, it was the most amazing moment of my entire life.
Overcoming the intense pain and near destruction at the San Diego one day taught Goggins a valuable lesson that day. Obstacles and suffering are not just challenges to overcome, but moments to learn who you really are. A few months later, Goggins would complete the Badwater 135 in 30 hours and 18 minutes. Raising $17,000 for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. Since that race, Goggins has gone on to raise more than $2 million for that foundation.
You gain knowledge through suffering. And on the other end of suffering is a world that very few have ever seen. It's a beautiful world because that's where you find yourself. You don't find yourself in over here. You find yourself on the other end. Like the 100-mile race I was on, I ran it for 24 hours. I found myself on the other end of that fucking race.
So a lot of people ask me what it's like to live with David, and I figured I had the perfect opportunity tonight to just give a little bit of insight. So today, just randomly, David says after we come home from the gym that he was going to go on a 100-mile ruck tonight. So unplanned, just spur of the moment. We're out here. We left just about 12 and a half hours ago, or just over 12. Oh God, that's blurry. 12:43 a.m. It's 38 degrees. And he's about 60 or 60 some miles in at this point. No one's out here. It's just me. No one would even know he's doing this if I wasn't recording this video. And that's so much of his life. Just all of the unseen work that goes into being David. I don't think people can even imagine the discipline and the hours spent alone just grinding.